What do you mean that 2 of our stores have been without a manager for more than a week? Darren Lowell gazed intently across the table, his fingers rhythmically tapping against the wood, each movement slow and purposeful. The operations director, a man in his 50s known for his tendency to evade direct responses, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The district manager has been working remotely, the man murmured. It's just a temporary situation. We're experiencing a staffing shortage like many others. Darren reclined, his jaw clenched tight. We have 6 stores, not 60, so please don't treat me like everyone else. All sounds faded away. 6 years had passed since Darren acquired the modest fast food chain from a couple looking to retire. In those days, it was a trio of struggling shops and a plethora of unfavorable Yelp reviews. He transformed it into 6 robust, successful locations, each with a devoted clientele and a distinct identity. However, recently matters had begun to unravel once more. Concerns regarding chilled meals, discourteous service, extended wait times, and above all, a lack of communication from the staff at the store level. He had never been fond of managing from a glass office, but expansion had pushed him to the upper floors, and for a time it had been effective, up to this point. He stated that growth is impossible without a strong foundation. I desire to uncover the truth behind the scenes. The atmosphere grew heavy. The ops director inquired with a hint of caution. You're planning to visit the stores? Darren replied, with a firm no. I'm going to take on a role there incognito. The man blinked. Darren nodded once, his expression unwavering. Select the most active option, without any management involvement or prior notice. I'll be Devin, a new entry level. Hire, so please ensure I'm added to the system. He paused, enveloped in silence for a moment. Let's discover what unfolds in the absence of an audience. Store number 4 was situated a 20-minute drive from the outskirts of town, nestled between a gas station and a second-hand tire shop. The summer air was thick and sweltering. A day when every vehicle that arrived requested additional ice for their beverages. Darren eased his old sedan to a stop a few blocks away, the vehicle rattling softly as the engine fell silent. He glanced at the mirror. The tailored suit had vanished. In place of that, he wore a faded black t-shirt, loose jeans, and a trucker cap pulled low over his graying hair. He had even cultivated a scruffy beard over the past few weeks to complete the appearance. He had never been encountered in person at this store prior to this moment. All recruitment was conducted through online platforms. His fabricated references had gone through without a hitch. He swung the front door open. The air was thick with the scent of fried food and perspiration. 2 teenagers at the counter were engaged in a heated debate over the headset, one of them hurriedly attempting to replenish the soda machine. A bell chimed softly as he entered, yet no one raised their gaze. Moments later, a petite woman sporting a buzz cut and holding a clipboard emerged from the rear. Are you the new hire? She inquired. Indeed, Devin, Darren mentioned. She refrained from shaking his hand. I am Marlene, your assistant. I'm putting forth my best effort. The manager resigned last Thursday, leaving before his shift was over. Unrefined. You truly have no idea. She presented him with a polo shirt. Check in and put on your headset. Drive-thrus extended all the way to the street. By noon, Darren found himself drenched in sweat, his shirt clinging to him uncomfortably. The kitchen was a whirlwind of disorder. Only 4 individuals were in the race. 2 high school students, 1 reluctant part-timer who seemed disinterested, and a girl at the grill who appeared barely old enough but was somehow managing to keep the line flowing. Avery was her name. No surname provided. He observed her as she expertly flipped patties, dropped fries, bagged orders, and calmly shouted corrections over her shoulder with a steady voice. Mayo, definitely not mustard. Lane. Carlos, could you please prepare 2 additional chicken wraps for me? She maintained her composure, neither raising her voice nor pausing in her actions. Devin, she exclaimed abruptly, her gaze fixed intently on the grill. Pick up a broom. A soda has been spilled near the fry station. You'll falter. He acknowledged with a nod and proceeded forward. She didn't inquire about his knowledge of the broom's location. She simply took it for granted. He would have it all sorted by 2. The air conditioning had ceased to function. Beads of perspiration cascaded down his neck. The queue at the drive-thru had remained steady with no fewer than 5 vehicles since his arrival. At 3, a customer burst in, shouting about a burger that was nowhere to be found. Marlene attempted to soothe him, yet the man's face was flushed with anger. Avery made her entrance. "I'll create it again on my own," she declared, her tone resolute. "And I'll include a beverage. Please feel free to wait over there, sir." The man blinked, his anger palpable, yet he nodded and marched toward a table. Darren picked up a basket and assisted her in putting the order back together. "You've always been like this?" he inquired, attempting to maintain a nonchalant demeanor. "What do you mean?" "Serene," she let out a soft chuckle. "There are no options available. If I let it slip away, everything else will unravel." As the dinner rush descended, Darren found himself adrift, unable to recall the number of orders he had meticulously packed. The fryer was malfunctioning. The ice machine had developed a leak. A child at the register slipped away silently, without uttering a single word. Avery continued on, undeterred. At 6:30, the headset emitted a beep. "I've received a massive order," Lane sighed. 3 family packs, and 5 shakes as well. "I'll take care of it," Darren said. "Speak it aloud." He hurriedly packed fries, meticulously checking labels. Avery was by his side in an instant, offering assistance silently. Suddenly, the system came to a standstill. The displays faded to nothingness. All the outstanding orders disappeared for a moment. Silence enveloped the scene and not a single soul stirred. Then Lane pivoted. "What action shall we take?" Avery cast a glance at Darren. "Do you recall any of it?" "Several." "Excellent. Let's reconstruct it. Lane, grab the shakes. Marlene, please. Initiate a system reboot. Devon, come along with me." They meticulously recreated each order from memory, jotting down notes by hand and swiftly bagging each one with care. As the weary mother in a minivan, her 3 children in tow, arrived, Avery greeted her with a warm smile and handed over the food. "I appreciate your patience." The lady blinked. "You actually recalled all of that?" "Absolutely, ma'am. Wishing you a restful night ahead." The children in the rear applauded. Darren observed her as she let out a breath and retreated indoors, her fingers massaging her temples. He had witnessed enough, not only of Avery, but also of what this establishment had been harboring all along. Of what he had allowed to unfold by keeping his distance. Tomorrow he would return, but not as Devon. Darren entered the store early the following morning, dressed in neatly pressed slacks and a crisp button-up shirt. The same employees were present. Yet their responses changed dramatically. Lane almost lost his grip on a tray. Marlene gazed intently for a moment, then averted her eyes. Avery, in the midst of tying her apron, suddenly paused, caught in the motion of the loop. "You initiated the path," Darren stated with a sense of calm. "I am the owner. I was present here yesterday as Devon. Today I stand before you as my true self." The temperature fell by several degrees. Silence enveloped the scene, as if time itself had paused. A fryer emitted a soft hiss in the background. He expressed the necessity of addressing everyone prior to our opening. 15 minutes, we'll rendezvous in the rear. "Marlene, you are part of this." She inclined her head with deliberation. 15 minutes later, they found themselves huddled in the small, cluttered back room behind the walk-in cooler. A folding chair teetered beneath Lane as he settled into it. Avery rested against the wall, arms folded, gaze unwavering. Carlos, the part-timer, frequently cast nervous glances at the door, as if he were ready to make a quick escape at any moment. Darren remained standing. "I'm not here to raise my voice," he started. "However, I must grasp what has been unfolding, not via reports, not from district managers, but directly from you." Silence enveloped the room. He glanced over at Carlos. Carlos scratched his shoulder and asked, "How long have you been working here?" "A few months, intermittently. I take on shifts whenever there's a need for assistance." He shrugged, asking if they required your presence frequently. "Frequently. I make my way in from the eastern side. Fuel consumes a significant portion of the earnings." "Indeed, they make frequent calls," Darren acknowledged. "And you, Lane?" The teenager moved uneasily. I just began a few weeks ago. I primarily register. At times, preparation is key. Do you sense preparedness? Not exactly, Lane confessed. Avery was my primary teacher in all of this. She jotted notes on napkins for me to review during breaks. Darren shifted his gaze to Avery. She remained silent. Marlene, he inquired, how long have you been overseeing everything without a manager? She mentioned 7 days, but truly more akin to 10. He had begun to miss his scheduled shifts prior to his resignation. He just called in and mentioned that he was working off-site, and no one from corporate reached out. Marlene cast her gaze downward. I reached out via email only to be advised to find a solution on my own. Darren let out a slow breath. That changes today, he faced Avery. So, you're not really in a super. I'm part of the team just like everyone else. You've been managing the grill, organizing orders, ensuring customer satisfaction and guiding new team members. I'm attempting to maintain its operation, she stated, her tone devoid of emotion. So, you aspire to take on a managerial role, she said, her jaw tightening. Negative, why not? She locked her gaze with his, because leaders exhaust themselves more quickly than the monks in this establishment. In the past 6 months, I've seen 2 people leave their shifts unexpectedly. I have no desire to be in line for what's next. Darren allowed that to settle before nodding. He surveyed the group with a discerning gaze. Effective immediately, I am designating a representative from HQ to manage this store on a temporary basis until we secure a new manager. There will be someone present to offer you support, beyond mere calls and emails. Face to face. Carlos exhaled softly. Lane appeared to exhale a breath of relief. Darren expressed his desire to hear suggestions as well, more than mere grievances. If you had the power to make an immediate change, what would it be? There was a palpable pause among them. Lane, Darren urged. Improved headset batteries, Lane stated promptly. Many of them perish during their shifts, and we find ourselves raising our voices. Amidst the clamor, customers take it all in, and Carlos simply nodded in acknowledgement. Avery's sentiment was echoed as she took a lengthy pause. A second fryer is necessary. Our drains are perpetually blocked. Whenever it comes to a halt, the entire queue gets held up. Darren nodded, acknowledging that a significant portion of the refund requests stemmed from that issue. He acknowledged with a single clap, subtle yet sufficient to ease the atmosphere. Okay, let's dive in. However, it's important to recognize that what I witnessed yesterday cannot persist. You are no longer by yourself. I won't be vanishing after today. I shall return, whether it is expected or not. That's a commitment. The silence in the room lingered, yet an unseen change occurred, not quite relief, more akin to a careful moment of stillness before finally inhaling after an extended hold. They exited in a steady stream. By lunchtime, the temporary manager from HQ, Lana, a reserved woman with 2 decades of field experience, arrived. She arrived without a laptop, armed only with a clipboard and a keen observation. Darren lingered in the shadows, observing quietly from the corner by the mop sink. There was no reason for him to get involved. Lana glided through the kitchen as if she had been a resident for a week, rather than just an hour. She inquired about the location of things rather than making assumptions. She took notes, but above all, she paid attention. I noticed that the gasket on your prep fridge is loose, she remarked to Marlene. Ice is accumulating. Marlene mentioned that you reported it twice. I was informed that maintenance is experiencing a backlog. Not anymore, Lana responded, swiftly jotting down a ticket. In the quiet of the mid-afternoon, Darren ventured outside, with Avery. She rested against the weathered dumpster enclosure, taking a sip from a chipped thermos filled with water. Do you ever have any days to yourself? He inquired. She pondered. I've got 2 on the calendar, but I often find myself getting called in unexpectedly. I agree, because if I don't, Carlos or Lane will have to step in, and they're already overwhelmed. What's the duration of your stay? Here? 14 months. Have you ever requested a salary increase? I heard that raises depend on formal reviews, but it seems that no one has conducted one since I began here. Darren gave a slow nod. What factors would contribute to the value of remaining in this position? She took her time before responding. Dependable team, functioning gear, And an individual who perceives our struggles before we sink. He gazed at her. I have observed this now. She let out a brief chuckle that failed to illuminate her gaze. You accomplished that. As the evening rush began to swell once more, Darren positioned himself by the register, observing intently. Lane moved with greater speed, his voice unwavering. Carlos didn't disappear during his break. Marlene delivered a witty quip regarding the new freezer labels, and Avery, though clearly fatigued, moved as if granted a rare moment to catch their breath between strides. Lana discreetly guided Darren to a quieter corner as the day drew to a close. They're quite good, she remarked, yet they've been left behind. Lack of organization, absence of a system for escalation, and no responsibility taken by higher-ups. It's not a problem with the store, it's ingrained in the very fabric. I understand, Darren remarked. We'll ensure stability, but you'll have to venture further upstream. This is occurring in multiple locations, he acknowledged. I intend to. Once the final customer departed and the dining area was cleaned, Darren summoned Avery to his side. I'd like you to take tomorrow off, he said. She arched an eyebrow. We are lacking, it's already been addressed. Lana is bringing in 2 cross-trained staff members from another store. You're on paid time off. She gazed at him for a lingering moment. What is the reason? When I inquired about what would make this role fulfilling, he responded, and I'm beginning with trust. Without uttering a word of gratitude, she merely nodded slightly before returning to the grill to continue polishing. The stainless steel. Darren lingered in the stillness of the store, the sharp aroma of cleaner wafting around him, while the overhead lights buzzed softly. Matters remained unresolved, far from it. However, they had relocated. For the first time in ages, clarity washed over him, revealing the path he must take. The next week, Darren made 3 trips back to the store. Every visit came without prior notice, each one lasting just long enough to take in the scene without causing any disturbance. He remained silent, merely observing. On Tuesday, the ice machine malfunctioned once more, causing a leak. Marlene had carefully placed a towel under the corner to prevent the water from accumulating near the register. On Wednesday, Lane overlooked a portion of the bustling lunch crowd. His ride had fallen through at the last moment, leaving him without an alternative. Avery stepped in without a word of protest, though by the middle of her shift, her voice had begun to falter from the strain of shouting over the fryer. On Friday, a food warmer malfunctioned. It had not received any maintenance for more than a year. Lena took the initiative to draft the repair order herself, after verifying that it hadn't been recorded correctly in the system. Darren was already convinced. The problems extended beyond this particular store. They were ingrained in the very framework of the company's growth. A meeting was scheduled for Saturday morning. Absent from the main office. Not in a conference room. He reserved the private dining space prior to the opening and requested the presence of every district manager, senior team lead, and corporate support staff member. Absolutely no screens. There will be no presentations. This isn't a report out, he remarked upon their arrival. This marks a new beginning. Half the room appeared bewildered. The other half appeared uneasy. For the past week I've been employed at Store 4 using an alias, he stated matter-of-factly. I observed a young individual, just 19, guiding newcomers while adeptly repairing malfunctioning machinery using nothing but duct tape. I observed an assistant manager balancing 3 responsibilities due to a lack of follow-up after a resignation. I observed patrons leaving due to our inability to process their orders swiftly. A couple of furtive looks passed between the diners, yet silence reigned at the table. He went on, sharing a litany of justifications. There are genuine issues such as staffing shortages, supply delays, and maintenance backlogs. However, much of it is us. We expanded rapidly, confident that the groundwork would support us. It did not. The district manager in charge of Store 4 finally broke the silence. In his early 40s, he sat poised in a sharp suit, a laptop open before him. We've been highlighting these discrepancies, he stated calmly. The issue lies in the magnitude. Everyone is feeling the pressure. Darren kept his voice steady. If your store has been experiencing problems for months without any improvement, then it seems you're not being challenged. You are flawed. Silence enveloped the room. Darren announced that moving forward, each store will implement a direct escalation path for any unresolved maintenance and staffing concerns. If an issue remains unresolved for over 72 hours, it will be brought to the attention of senior operations. No more voids. He directed his gaze towards the HR director. I would like a comprehensive evaluation of our promotion pipeline. Some employees are performing tasks at a supervisor level without receiving any official acknowledgement. That evolves. We are introducing on-site assessments, moving beyond mere performance checklists produced by payroll. She nodded, swiftly capturing her thoughts on paper. Darren hesitated for a moment, then turned his gaze toward Lana. You've spent more time in the field than anyone else here over the last month. What is it that you require? Lana acted without a moment's pause. Permission to redistribute floaters among stores without awaiting regional consent, along with an inventory of spare equipment. We're wasting valuable time each week as we wait for parts to arrive. Completed. Both will be ready for you by the end of next week. As the meeting drew to a close, Darren observed something intriguing. No one hurried outside. Individuals remained in their places, engaging in hushed conversations, exchanging insights. It wasn't a sense of relief. It was a dynamic shift. Indeed, it was something that should have happened much earlier. He made his way back to Store 4 around midday. The parking lot was partially occupied. The queue progressed at a leisurely yet consistent pace. Avery was indeed off that day, just as he had insisted, yet she had left behind handwritten prep sheets. Not secured. Each shift will have a laminated sheet for initials to sign off. Marlene was managing the line with 2 new recruits from a different store. One of them mishandled a wrap order, and rather than correcting him on the spot, she took a moment to pause the line and guided him through the proper folding technique. Darren made his way to the back to review the equipment log. The gasket on the prep fridge has finally been replaced. The headset batteries were indeed faulty. The second fryer remained in a state of anticipation, yet the order had been duly recorded and acknowledged. Once the hustle and bustle subsided, he ventured outside to reach out to Avery. She answered on the second ring. Text, are you enjoying your day off? He inquired. I am, she declared. What is the reason? I'm not reaching out regarding work matters. I'm reaching out to arrange a meeting with you on Monday. Unavailable in the shop. A place of balance. Perhaps a coffee shop. She paused for a moment, lost in thought. Understood. What is the reason? I have something to share with you, but I want to ensure you feel completely free to decide without any pressure from my position in the company. She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. All right, it's Monday morning, that suits me just fine. He ended the call on Monday. They encountered each other at a quaint little cafe just a few blocks away from the store. She entered clad in denim and a simple sweatshirt, hair tied back, her eyes cautious. Darren had taken his seat, without a laptop or any paperwork, just 2 cups of coffee and a simple notebook in hand. He motioned toward the chair opposite him. You're quite astute, he remarked as she took her seat. Beyond that, you exhibit a remarkable consistency. You remain unshaken when challenges arise, and you've garnered the admiration of others effortlessly. She remained silent. He stated that he wasn't extending an offer for the store manager position. You've already mentioned that you're not keen on that. I paid attention. Her shoulders relaxed just a bit. He expressed his desire to establish a new role. Lead for field training. It lacks a corporate feel. It isn't located within an office environment. It's available in stores. You would explore various locations, collaborate closely with the team, assist in integrating new crews, and provide me with direct feedback on what is effective and what needs improvement. She blinked, her eyes momentarily fluttering as if caught in a fleeting thought. I don't possess the necessary qualifications for that. Indeed you are, he remarked. You simply haven't received the designation for it yet. She gazed into her coffee, gently swirling it with a deliberate motion. Am I going to remain on payroll as I am currently? This position offers a comprehensive package including benefits, travel expenses, and opportunities for professional growth should you choose to pursue it. She remained silent for what felt like an eternity. She finally expressed her desire not to become someone who forgets the struggles faced on the floor. That's precisely why I'm inquiring, Darren responded. She gave a single nod. "I'll give it a shot," she remarked. "However, if it devolves into merely another task to check off, you leave," he concluded. "Got it." They clasped hands over the table. During that week, Avery observed 3 stores closely. She was without a clipboard. She donned a black polo and navigated the line with the same dedication as her peers. Yet, as each shift concluded, she gathered with the team to inquire about their needs. She relied on her memory instead of jotting things down. And when she updated Darren, she was straightforward and honest. The night crew at Store 2 lacks adequate training, posing a significant risk. Their manager lacks the experience to resolve it independently. The fryers at Store 5 have not been cleaned adequately for weeks. The shift lead mentioned that the cleaning chemicals were not restocked at all. Store 1 shows promise. A man named Malik at the grill, exuding natural leadership. No one has observed. She made no effort to win his admiration. She simply spoke the truth, and Darren paid attention. He understood that it wouldn't be resolved in just a month. Perhaps not in 6. Yet what set this moment apart was the surge of energy, and gaze fixed downward. As he exited Store 4 late one evening, he lingered by the kitchen door. Marlene swept the floor, a soft hum escaping her lips as she worked. Lane was replenishing the supply of cups. Carlos, for a change, was proposing to exchange a shift rather than evade one. No one paid any attention as Darren walked away. In that moment, he understood the essence of it all. They had moved on from him. They were creating something in his absence. The foundation began to solidify. 3 weeks had gone by. The alterations Darren had implemented were underway. However, conflict was unavoidable. Not all those in positions of authority embraced the idea of being questioned by someone who had merely been working behind the counter under an alias. A handful of middle managers expressed their dissatisfaction regarding the micromanagement imposed from above, asserting that the stores required independence rather than meddling. Darren remained silent. He continued to appear silently, without any prior notice. One morning he made his way to Store 3, the top-performing location in the chain. It was crisp, swift, and refined in presentation. However, Avery had noticed something unusual during a recent visit. She didn't go into detail, merely expressed that it felt constricted, as if the team members were constantly observing one another rather than collaborating. Darren lingered in the back corner of the kitchen for half a shift, observing intently. The figures were impressive. Customers received prompt service. The orders were precise. Yet the crew operated with mechanical precision. Silence reigned, with words only emerging when absolutely necessary. There were no furtive looks, no light-hearted banter, no synchronized flow. Each movement appeared meticulously planned. In a moment of quiet, Darren made his way to a tall figure overseeing the wrap station. "You, Malik?" The man nodded once, wiping his hands on a towel. "It seems you've been here for quite some time, just a little over a year. You enjoy it?" Malik's gaze drifted beyond him, fixated on the cooler door. "I receive my payments punctually." "That's not what I requested." Malik paused, then spoke in a softer tone. "We operate with integrity. The figures are accurate. The manager is solely focused on that." "Who is in charge?" "Briggs." A woman emerged from the office as though called forth by an unseen force. In her 30s, she possessed a slender figure and piercing eyes. She ignored Darren entirely, directing her attention solely to Malik. "You are overdue for a restock. I'm on the line. Accelerate your pace." Darren observed in silence as Malik returned to the prep table, not uttering a single word. Later that day, he discreetly led Avery away from the bustling store. "You were correct," he stated. "The operation flows seamlessly. Yet an air of silence envelops everything," she acknowledged with a nod. "Briggs maintains a calm demeanor, her voice steady and composed. She instills a sense of unease through subtle tactics, reduces hours unexpectedly, and shares schedules at the last moment, informs individuals of their interchangeable nature. Is she engaging in any unlawful activities? No, just sufficient to ensure silence among the crowd. The turnover rate among the crew is significant, yet there are no grievances expressed upon their departure. They simply vanish without a word." "Who is her supervisor?" Grant, the leader for the Northern District. He admires her for her ability to achieve goals. Darren took his time to reply. The following morning, he made his way back to headquarters and retrieved all the quarterly reports from Store 3. The figures were impeccable, labor expenses kept to a minimum, food waste was negligible, and customer feedback remained consistently. Average, neither exceptional nor poor. That was the warning sign. He summoned Grant to his office. Store 3's a problem, Darren remarked as the man took a seat, while Grant meticulously adjusted his cufflinks. How so? It's almost flawless, and individuals are hesitant to express themselves, Grant offered. A brief shrug. Some managers maintain strict control. Briggs delivers outcomes. What is the price? I get that you've been making your rounds, and I appreciate that, but we can't approach every store as if it's a therapy session. Certain teams react to buildings. The problem lies not in the structure, but in the fear. You're mixing up adherence. With ethos, do you have intentions of finding a substitute for her? I intend to have a conversation with her. Grant moved with intention. Darren leaned forward slightly, emphasizing, that's not protocol. Going undercover in my own company was not an option either, yet here we stand. That afternoon, he returned. To Store 3, strolled past the counter and inquired about Briggs. In the cramped back office, she encountered him, arms crossed, with an expression that revealed nothing. Darren mentioned that he has been assessing your store. Numbers are remarkable. However, your team is experiencing burnout. She remarked on their efficiency and discipline, explaining that this is the reason behind the impressive numbers. They remain silent, lacking in efficiency. I've witnessed true efficiency before. This is driven by fear, yet Briggs showed no sign of hesitation. With all due respect, my purpose here is not to manage a daycare. I'm here to achieve goals. And they're striking them in spite of you, not due to you. She narrowed her eyes. Are you suggesting that I am guilty of something? If those around you are hesitant to voice their thoughts, it indicates a deeper issue at play. Individuals tend to depart silently when they no longer hold faith in being acknowledged. Briggs remained silent. Darren pressed on. I'm not letting you go, but I will be assigning a peer review. Avery will be here for 2 days a week over the next 4 weeks. She will handle shifts, communicate with the team, and provide direct updates to me. Briggs's jaw clenched. It seems I'm under the watchful eye of a caretaker. Your assessment is not determined by figures, but rather by individuals. That evening, Darren reached out to Avery, declaring, Store 3 is yours for a month. I want the truth, not just the shattered pieces. What can be saved? I'll be direct with you, she stated. I understand. In the coming 4 weeks, Avery immersed herself in the store's cadence. She refrained from confronting Briggs. She chose not to challenge the structure. She tirelessly collaborated with the team, throughout preparation, during the hectic moments and in the aftermath of it all. Gradually, they began to reveal themselves. As the evening unfolded, Malik was the first to break the silence. She observes, the camera feed from the comfort of her home. Avery kept their gaze fixed downward. Briggs? Indeed, there was an occasion when I extended my break by an additional 2 minutes. She reached out to me before I had even started my shift. A short distance away, a girl arranging sauce packets remarked that she organizes shifts for 6 hours to ensure we miss our meal breaks. Another remarked that she informs the new hires that asking questions only serves to slow everyone down. Avery absorbed the information, refraining from jotting anything down, simply nodded. At the month's conclusion, she convened with Darren in a private office at headquarters. Avery remarked that she isn't abusive, but rather, she is strategic. She employs strategies to nudge individuals to their limits while remaining within boundaries. The team delivers their best work out of fear of being substituted. Is change possible for her? She believes it's unnecessary. Darren reclined in his seat, understood. A second meeting was arranged for later that week. At the table this time were Briggs, Grant, Avery, and Darren. Darren commenced by sharing his insights on the findings. Briggs, your figures are impressive, yet your approach to leadership diverges from the direction we aim to pursue as a company. Briggs stated that there are no violations of policy. No, but there is a distinction between policy and principle. Grant prepared to speak, his throat clearing in anticipation. "What do you suggest?" Darren said. "I'm transferring you, Briggs. For a duration of 6 weeks, you will assume a training position at our development store. You will observe a different manager closely. Watch and absorb." Briggs let out a derisive laugh. "It feels like I'm being pushed down a level. I'm offering you an opportunity to adjust. If you decide against it, the way ahead will be evident, but I refuse to substitute outcomes with bitterness." She cast a glance at Grant, yet he remained silent. Darren shifted his gaze towards Avery. "During her absence, you will take on the role of interim lead at Store 3, with complete authority. I wish to witness the potential of the store when fear is absent." Avery remained silent, offering a single nod. After a fortnight, Malik reached out to Darren via the internal portal. It was brief. Once more, laughter fills the air. "It's surprising how silent we've become." At the conclusion of the 6-week span, sales remained steady. There was a modest increase in labor costs, yet repeat customer ratings also saw an uptick. The team felt prominent. A palpable change enveloped the surroundings. Darren arrived unexpectedly and lingered by the back door, eavesdropping. A voice rose in song. Softly playing, a gentle melody mingles with the sizzle of the grill. Yet, it was the inaugural moment. He experienced melodies in that shop that didn't emanate from a speaker. Briggs came back from her rotation with a quiet demeanor. She never requested to reclaim her former shop. Instead, she sought a transfer to another region. Darren has given his approval. Silently, without celebration or words, the organization had its flaws, and it always would. Stores continued to show. Empty spaces and schedules required careful rearrangement. Yet the culture was shifting, not through coercion, nor through intimidation, but through demonstration. Avery persisted in her position as the lead for field training. She explored shops, traveled the route, conversed with teams. She had no badge to carry. It was unnecessary. She was a figure recognized by all. For the first time in years, Darren no longer felt like an observer in his own company. He had no reason to don the disguise once more. He had already unearthed the truth.